Hello my fellow full of the samurai players, Zaript here, and I'm going to bring you a face-off between CW Sony and TWR Killerfisch, and these two players basically dominated Group C of second group stage of Aggony 1v1 Championship 2012. Whew, I don't have enough of breath for that, and this is a flute plane. First map of their group stage match, and let's take a look at army compositions. Sony brought some mix between gun and Bushido or Moral Gen, but I don't see a stand-and fight, so he certainly has some points in gun. Now, he have 3 vanilla Shogitais, 3 Spear Levies, he have Azuro Dragon Force on one flank, and Azuro Dragon Force on another. His cavalry are Imperial Guard Cavalry vanilla. He have 4 Yariki with 3 of them with 6 chevrons and 1 of them with 7. And he have level 5 Shogun Guard Cavalry. Now for a Killerfisch. Well, he have not so many melee infantry units. Only 1 Yarikachi with 2 chevrons. All upgrades in defense to stop melee rush, it seems. He have 2 Marines, United States Marines on the left flank. And Royal Marines in the middle. He have Azuro Dragon Force and Black Bear Infantry with 2 chevrons. And I'm surprised this isn't Imperial Infantry, which have the same shooting speed, but overall better ammunition for the same price as level 2 Black Bears. His general are, well, mostly Bushido Gen, but without heroic assault. Now let's take a look at his cavalry. He have 2 revolver cavalries and 4 Yariki with 7 chevrons, 2 of them hidden in this forest. Now let's take a look how this match goes. I will speed it up, and before that, let's think a bit about these compositions. Yes, 4 level 7. These 2 revolver cavalries, they are very good units, as we have seen in a match between Serge Levanidov and Prussian Prince. If your opponent does mistake, you can really exploit it using this revolver cavalry. If your opponent doesn't do mistake, they are a very good tool in a cavalry fight. Staying in the back, they can destroy enemy's cavalry in seconds, in moments. But if your opponent managed to get into the melee without getting shot first, they are very expensive unit to throw out. 1100 koku. And what Killerfisch wants here is really to delay melee rush as long as possible and to win cavalry fight using this revolver cavalry. What Sony wants to, well, he basically wants to not be shooted at the same time with all line units, and Killerfisch does it very easy for Sony. You see how spread out line of Killerfisch is. So it's kinda, you know, if in this forest Sony get too close, Killerfisch has only this Yarikachi to stop it, because in cavalry department Sony have more melee cavalry. And well, I don't know with these compositions. It's difficult to say how Killerfisch is going to stop this melee rush. It's very difficult. And I obviously saw this game, so maybe cheating a little bit here. I know how it ends. Surprisingly, Killerfisch micros his United States Marines here. And Sony charges his cavalry, but Killerfisch reacts in time, and here look how Sony gives this Spear Levy in loose formation for Killerfisch to shoot and move his Azuro Dragon Force to shoot back without getting volley at them. And now, you see, in this engagement, Sony have an uphill advantage in cavalry fight, and here they touched each other, but... And look at this. Revolver cavalry coming close, and at the same time, melee rush on this flank. And look at this is quite important. Melee rush on the middle didn't start yet. Why? Because here terrain favors Sony, and he doesn't see a reason to attack in the middle. Very smart decision. He doesn't want to go straight away. He wants to first collapse this flank where he have a local superiority. He have this Azuro Dragon Force supporting this fight. this Shogitai and this spear levy making a line of Killerfisch run. And his cavalry is winning because his melee cavalry are just better. Now this revolver cavalry starting to change the tides of this battle. But Sony gets a melee charge. And you see how the second Sony got his Shogitai and spear levy here, the second his Azure Dragon Force was on position, he switched all his cavalry on this flank and attacked. And Killerfisch is in defensive position here. And he... Well, you don't want to be... He gave up initiative. And you see how here, this United States Marines and this Azure Dragon Force, they didn't really have a chance to shoot. He got too close. And when this rush started, Killerfisch just have to run. And now he have to risk his general's life to stop this spear levy, to stop this Shogitai, and to get his line time to shoot. And here, at the same time, while Killerfisch busy managing this flank, Sony launches attack on this flank. And now here he has the superiority again, just because Killerfisch doesn't have his cavalry anymore. He doesn't. And look how only 2 units, Shogitai and spear levy, making busy 2 very expensive units of Killerfisch. Here, well, this Yarikachi, look at this, this is very interesting. This Yarikachi stopped 3 melee units of Sony, but at the same time, these units of Royal Marine cannot shoot. They barely have line of sight and they cannot shoot. Oh, and I have blood planes all over my screen. So let's stop this for a second. So you see what happened. Killerfisch spread his line too much. He had only 4 line units, and 2 of them are very expensive ones. And he contested all 3 dodges at the same time. And I don't really want to talk about what dodges this is, because it isn't what deciding the game. Sony presented much more compact force with only 2 line units on the side. And because Sony had stronger cavalry, Killerfisch couldn't be very aggressive against 2 line units on the flanks. And because of that, and this blast plane doesn't go anywhere when I'm on pause, interesting. And you see what happened. Here Killerfisch tried to use his United States Marines, to use his 150 range advantage, but terrain didn't allow him to. And Sony even got the first volley here by using his Azure Dragon Force. And then he launched melee attack with only 2 units. And with all cavalry here, it was like 2 line units of Killerfisch and all Killerfisch cavalry against all cavalry and a small contingent of Sony. And just because his cavalry was melee, and just because he charges this revolver cavalry, Sony got an advantage. And you see, Killerfisch actually almost won cavalry fight. He won it. But at the same time, this Azure Dragon Force fully alive. This spear levy and Shogitai get these 2 expensive units out of the game and chasing them. So Sony just managed this fight so much better. So, and really, download this replay, watch it. Just watch how he did it. How he didn't send this spear levy into cavalry fight. How he uses Azure Dragon Force to support the cavalry fight. And how just by sending this, it's just so cool. Just because of this terrain, Killerfisch, it felt like he wasn't reading this at all. And Sony, it's like he saw this to the very end, this whole engagement. But he still lost against cavalry, and now he still, look how this worked. This Azure Dragon Force didn't get much kill here, because it was a little bit late. But now look how important it is when cavalry already depleted. This Azure Dragon Force are very important to zone out this cavalry while these units are melee rushing. And here, without cavalry support, these 3 units aren't that strong. Of course, it's a great plan to use your Yarikachi to stop melee rush, but it's only if you line shooting from the back. And because of this terrain, these Royal Marines only got 54 kills so far. Okay, now that I explained my view of this game, let's take a look at how it goes. Will Killerfisch be able... Look at this. This revolver cavalry, they are still looking very strong. And you see, he doesn't manage his Yariki to charge. Why would you? Finally. He just laying it up. He didn't click an attack and his revolver cavalry now charged into the melee. And look how important these volley are. Now Killerfisch doesn't have his cavalry. He doesn't have stopping power. And here as well. So basically, now Killerfisch cannot kite. He really can't, but maybe both of his marines are still, well, not that alive as you would want to. These Royal Marines, now they have to run, and will they even be able to shoot anymore? 54 kills, let's count it. Oh, and Killerfisch lost his general finally. Ah, man. This is a power of timing. Getting small superiority if you know how to use it. Man, this is cool. This is very cool. That's what you call a high-level game. When even smallest mistake, smallest misread of the situation decides the game. It's not like some major fuck-up, I'm sorry, on a Killerfisch part. It's not really, but maybe his composition wasn't the best idea for this map. I'm not sure. Really, utilizing revolver cavalry against a strong player, 2 of them, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And probably I would prefer 2 Yarikachi on this map, just because melee rushes on the flute plane are very common thing, and with 1 Yarikachi you can really protect only one direction. And Killerfisch did very well with them. He stopped 2 Shogitais. He stopped 2 Shogitais for quite a long time. That's very cool. But he didn't manage to use it. And look how many manpower Sony had. 400 man difference, 450. And actually quite close kill count. Only 50 man difference here. And yeah, his melee rush did very well. His supporting line did not bad actually. And this Imperial Guard cavalry, he lost it. Mismicroed in the end a bit. He should have retreated farther away with them. But more importantly, his rush worked. And Killerfisch, he just didn't have enough. His Black Bear infantry did okay, but yet again it's mostly spear levies. Royal Marines did, in the end they killed 50 more men, not bad. But the general was already dead. And you have seen how most of the time, well, basically there were 2 fights. And Killerfisch forces basically were split on 2 parts. He had Black Bear Infantry, Royal Marines and Yarikachi on his right flank. He had United States Marines and Azuro Dragon Force in the middle. And a cavalry on the left flank. And these 3 forces weren't helping each other. Because all line was busy running from a melee rush. And that allowed Sony, who had an initiative, to kinda get an advantage of that splitting, because you can't stop melee rush by splitting your forces. You really can't. You want waves. You want one unit shoot while other unit run, or while other unit stopping your enemy. So, and Killerfisch army was so small that when divided on 3 parts, it wasn't able to do anything. And Sony was much more effective. And you have seen how one spear levy of Sony were chasing these United States Marines of Killerfisch. So 400 unit took the whole unit of 1,500 unit was taken out of the fight by one spear levy. This is perfect. Spear levy cannot kill them, of course, but they took them out of a fight. And look at the result, only 56 kills. Beautiful game. Beautiful game, and let's take a look at the second one. And here we go, Kansai Wutan, second game between Sony and Killerfisch. In a match of second group stage of Aggony 1v1 Championship. And this is a Group C. And what can I tell? If you watched my video till this moment, and if you're watching it on my Steam profile page, please rate it. If you like it, rate it up. If you don't like it, rate it down, but rate it please. And leave a comment. I want to give my videos a chance to end up in Total War Game Hub. I want more people to see it, and maybe more people will play multiplayer instead of single player. Because that's what I want them to. And now, let's take a look at the game. Okay, now, much more line-heavy composition from Sony here. Azure Dragon Force, Black Tortoise Force, Vermilion Bird Force, White Bear Infantry, Black Tortoise Force, and White Bear Infantry. Mostly vanilla or with one upgrade in reload. Cavalry of Sony, Yariki with 7 chevrons. So, 4 Yariki with 7 chevrons and Shogun Guard Cavalry with 4. And here have 2 Yarikachi with 2 upgrades in attack and 1 upgrade in morale, I believe. No, and 1 upgrade in defense and Spear's defense retainer. So he's preparing for some sort of a rush because it's expected on this map. You want some stopping power against a rush, and I'm surprised none of them brought Shogitais. Okay, now Killerfisch, he still have 2 revolver cavalry. He sticks with his plan. Okay, then his Yariki level 7, level 7, level 7, and level 7, 4 level 7 Yariki. And he have more upgrades in morale than Sony, right? He only have 4 line units against 6, right? Yeah, against 6. It's Imperial Infantry, Blackbear, and Blackbear. And Infantry the Marine with Yarikachi protecting them. Yarikachi with 2 upgrades in defense. So here full Bushido Gen but without Heroic Assault. Heroic Assault, and here we have, again I don't know what points does he have aside from 5 points in gun. And really, I don't know how to utilize 150 range unit on this map. Well, let's take a look at how this goes. And from the very beginning, both players go for this ridge because this is a shrine and they don't want farmhouse that much. And you see, none of them even sending a cavalry unit to cap the dojo because they need all the power they have here. But look, because of how these forests look, Sony got to this forest a bit earlier. Maybe he have point in speed in command tree. So he's first in the forest. And now Killerfisch, it's actually forced to be passive. He is forced out of shrine. And I'm not sure how is he going to make his infantry to marine useful in this scenario. Because here Sony basically can just camp this forest. And look, while Killerfisch have only Imperial Infantry on this ridge, Sony got Azure Dragon Force, Black Tortoise Force, Yarikachi, and he have more melee cavalry. Really, I think if you read it more ahead, Killerfisch have no chances on this ridge. Honestly, I can't see the plan for Killerfisch. Maybe he's waiting for mistake on Sony part to use his revolver cavalry. I don't know, but in terms of local superiority, Sony clearly have an advantage. Sony clearly have to force Killerfisch out of this ridge, and Killerfisch have to change his plan. He have to go out of this ridge. Well, and you see he is forced out, and see how passive this flank is. He's just using his infantry, the marine, to stop Sony from flanking, but I mean, Sony doesn't need to attack here. Or maybe Sony is an attacker in this game. Maybe that is the case, probably. Otherwise, it's difficult to explain why Killerfisch is so passive. And well, you see, 2 line units, Yarikachi against 2 line units. And here we have, well, it's clearly that Sony will have a uphill advantage here. Why is this cavalry so far away? You see, this moment, it was inevitable. It was easy to read. Why? And this revolver cavalry getting a volley, but look at this. This Imperial infantry cannot shoot. This flank is collapsing already, and only now Killerfisch reacts with his cavalry. And it was so obvious so long ago. It's kinda... Maybe Killerfisch was expecting different build from Sony or something. He clearly didn't adapt well enough. This is a mistake I do a lot. And honestly, it's very sad that Killerfisch did it in such an important match. It's match deciding who will be on the first place in the group. Oh my. And now, even thought Sony had a weaker cavalry with uphill advantage. He actually won because his cavalry only have a weaker morale. Oh man, and look at this. Killerfisch losing his general. And now, only now, this infantry de marine getting into the fight, but it's clear how superior Sony's forces now. He got all the cavalry. And he isn't even putting his general close not to risk it. Because of this revolver cavalry, he playing very cautiously with his general. But overall, it's kinda very simple and very easy idea. Weakness of Killerfisch was that he didn't have enough manpower to do 2 things at the same time. He didn't have power to maintain balance on this ridge, and he didn't have... let me put it this way. If Killerfisch put more force here to maintain balance on this ridge, it would mean that he would have to give up even more ground here, because Sony can move closer in the forest, and if Killerfisch put more line here, there is more pressure here. And look, so he either have to be like this, and his forces are very easy to split up now. Or he can play it like this, but really, then Sony can flank more. And that is because Sony have more melee cavalry, and because he doesn't use his cavalry very offensively. He doesn't use his cavalry running all around. He uses his cavalry behind his line. He waits for a moment when his line close enough, and only then he attacks with his cavalry. Why is that? Because Killerfisch doesn't really go for a map control. he used his cavalry very passively, and this passive play from Killerfisch, it's kinda gives more chances for Sony because he have just more forces to spare. He have man. Killerfisch didn't get any chance to use this 150 range. Really, he didn't. And that 2 revolver cavalry, he didn't have much chances to use them either. So I would probably say that at least on this map, Sony had a stronger composition, probably. At least he have a better plan with his composition, and the Killerfisch, he kinda needs to... His plan based on his line, working together with his cavalry as well, but honestly, without having enough melee cavalry, he cannot get a map control, you see? Oh man. So, 2-0. And Sony from CW clan advances to the playoff from the first place on C group, and Killerfisch advanced from the second place. So, yet again, Sony had 300 more men, but this time difference in losses is much more obvious. 250 men difference. Let's see. And most of the kills Sony got are his cavalry, because he got nice downhill charge, supported by this Black Tortoise Force and Azura Dragon Force. And Killerfisch, look at this revolver cavalry, completely useless in this scenario. Completely useless. And look at this infantry de marine. Well, they managed to get 151 kill, but it was when General of Killerfisch was dead. Cavalry of Killerfisch were dead. Yeah, that's how it happens. And yet again, very interesting game. Very interesting game, and watching replay and analyzing is very important if you... if you watch this replay and if you can explain to yourself clearly why did Killerfisch lost, it will win you so many games in the future. You need to be able to explain yourself what was so good about Sony's composition that gave him advantage on this map. In my opinion, it's 3 factors. Killerfisch had 3 units that is very difficult to use on this map. It's infantry de marine and 2 revolver cavalry. You need a very specific situation to make them effective. And Killerfisch didn't have a chance to. So, and Sony have much more manpower, which allowed him to get local superiority on the ridge, while Killerfisch couldn't have allowed himself to. He just didn't have enough line units to use on different parts of the map. And he couldn't threaten a flank of a Sony, because if he did use his cavalry to threaten a flank of a Sony, he would use immediately on other flank. And he didn't have enough momentum. But who knows, maybe he did. It's difficult to tell, it's very difficult. Well, thank you for watching, and see you again on my channel.